Hi everyone, welcome to Long Game, a Heated Rivalry podcast. My name is Silvan and I'm joined of course by Declan, and we have a very special guest joining us on the podcast today. We've got Bree, who is one of our longtime listeners and frequent commenters on YouTube joining us. So thanks so much for coming on, Bree.
Thank you for asking. I'm super stoked.
Yeah, and we're super happy to have you on, and we really like, the comments that you've been leaving on our YouTube videos. They've been so lovely to read right from the beginning.
I'm happy to hear you say that because I remember I told you, I thought I was in trouble when you contacted me. I thought you were going to tell me to tone it down. Dude, that's a bit much. And I know it was, but I feel like when you watch something or you read something and you're really passionate about it and it gets you and you have nobody to be like, oh my God, can you believe that? What the hell? Yeah, so this is great. Finding your podcast was just fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really sweet. And that's what I've loved about sort of developing the community with everybody. We are going to be talking about part 4 of the book. So I think this is part 9 of the podcast. And we're going to be talking through chapter 23. So Declan and Bree, let's just get stuck into it, shall we?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
So chapter starts off with Scott Hunter and the interviews and the press he does following the very infamous Scott and Kip kiss on the ice rink.
The never been kissed moment when he calls Kip down from the stands.
I love that reference. I love a Drew Barrymore rom-com, so spot on there. What struck me with this opening was there is no award speech that you get from Game Changers.
Yeah.
And so that was quite interesting to not have.
Yeah, I do think from the TV show, it's a nice add-on to have that sort of explanation about how Scott is feeling from having come out and the sort of press that he's dealt with, and able to speak on his experience and what it actually means for him, because you don't really get that towards the end of his book, which is a bit of a missed opportunity, I think. So I think it's nice that Jacob Tierney has decided to include that aspect in the show. But in the book, it's it's alluded to, you get an idea of what's discussed, but you don't sort of get the detail of what could have been said, even though it's a great opportunity to have some sort of like relatable moments for Shane and Ilya to sort of see and be able to relate back to. So yeah, I do think it's a nice addition for the show. It kind of reminds me of the sort of flushed out version of like the scene with Ilya in Russia where he's speaking Russian on the phone. In the show, we get to hear what's said, and I think that's
Chapter
a lot more
19.
effective. Yeah, exactly. And now that we have that more effective context, you can sort of appreciate it a bit better. So it's not necessarily like a bad thing it's not in the book. It's more, there was more that could have been added on, and they took the opportunity to flush that out.
Now, I only saw the TV show, I think it was January or February. All the episodes had dropped. And then I came back from New Year's and I watched it, and I haven't seen it since. So the episodes are pretty stuck in my head, and I do picture a lot of the television show while I'm reading because they complement each other, and you get everything you get from the actors. But when you read the book, then you get like their inner thoughts and yeah, I really look forward to the Ilya's perspective on things. That's fantastic. So I'm not sure, like in the beginning, this is chapter 23, and I feel like I just must have automatically gone to like, he made the call and we got to see their perspectives in the book when those phone calls were happening on the show. And then it was like, oh, this is the chapter where we're going to the cottage. And I just lost my mind.
Yeah, exactly. And we are going to the cottage. And I think that's one of the things that I know a lot of people that I've been speaking to did, whereby they went straight from the TV show, they read Heated Rivalry, the book, and then they went straight to Long Game. So they skipped Game Changer and they skipped all the other books in between. And now, I know we're only up to Heated Rivalry on the podcast, but I feel like had you not read Game Changer, there's this whole context you would have missed.
I loved game. And I mean, like, when freaking Scott picks up Kip in the kitchen and is like, carry him, like, can I fuck you? Absolutely. That is just the best. I was like, and I know Kip's not like a little guy. He's pretty sturdy. Like, maybe Francois Arnaud is like, is he tall in real life? Was he like,
I
but
think
the
so,
fact that
yeah.
these guys could just pick each other up and throw each other around, I freaking love that.
Now, we did like episode 3 in the TV show because I think it's better than the book, to be honest, and it's more condensed and it trims a lot of the bad stuff in the book and makes it
Yes.
into something a lot more coherent.
I think what I really get in the beginning of this chapter is how identical the dialogue is when Ilya gets into Shane's car, for example. He's like, what is this? And he's like, oh, it's a Jeep. And like, why are you driving a Jeep kind of thing? And there's a similarity that I'm noticing in these later chapters in Heated Rivalry,
Hmm.
where Jacob doesn't adapt or change too much here. He keeps a lot of the dialogue very, very similar, especially in this chapter and the next few chapters. The dialogue is identical. It's almost like it's lifted straight out of the book.
That was a moment for me, guys. I literally wrote that down where he was like, where is he? What the fuck are you driving, Hollander? Oh my God. Because he's right away like, it's good in the snow. So then, of course, my brain's going off to my movie stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if you ever saw Tu Wong Fu, where the person was like, I don't know, but if there's a snowstorm tonight, he's going on my tires. That's a movie with like Wesley Snipes and who is that? Oh my God, Patrick Swayze, R.I.P. He
Mm.
embodies Miss Vita Boheme in that. And John Leguizamo with Chichi Rodriguez. There's so many good lines in that movie. I got more legs than a bucket of chicken. Like, I freaking love Tu Wong Fu. It's not the fact that he needed help with the bags, right? But the fact that Ilya is described as having his hat pulled a little low. They're both trying to be inconspicuous, and Shane is like afraid to get out of the car. And like when you pick someone up from a train station, an airport, a bus stop, whatever, don't you want to like greet them, get out of your car and hug them? And that just that was like
Mm.
mm.
And this is the thing now, like, if you think about it, if these two do want to try to make a relationship work without coming out, this is what it's going to have to be like. Like, this is like a prelude to how their relationship is going to look for the next few years. Um, and it is a little sad that this is kind of how they have to do it. They have to sneak around, and there's also a little bit of humor in it as well. The ridiculousness of the hat and the glasses, like it's so cliche, but they have to go for it anyway. But no, it does. It sort of it has in the background that sort of melancholy, that sort of, oh, these guys are gonna have to like do this if they want to be together, because this is sort of like their trial run for a relationship. What's it like whenever they're together, whenever they are meeting up again? Like, how's this now going to look in the future? How's their relationship going to play out? And it's going to be secrecy. It's going to be hiding where they are, where they're hanging out, and but still being able to spend time together and enjoying time together and having that humor and the Hollander, do you know you're a millionaire? Like, why are you driving this way? Like,
I love Ilya's appreciation for cars. Like
yeah,
I'm with
yeah.
him on that. I get the thing, I get the snow thing and the practicality of it, but I just love that Ilya loves cars.
Ilya will be driving a Ferrari in the snow, no problem.
I think you're right in what you say there, Declan, in that this is a real test of their relationship, because
Mm.
this is the first time where they're going to have 2 weeks alone, uninterrupted, where they don't have to hide, they don't have to shield themselves from other people. Because in the book, Rachel writes, 2 weeks alone together, you know, possibly constantly alone together. So there's this real element of wishing and hope that you get at the beginning of this chapter where you want that for them. You want them to feel or to test out what a real relationship is going to look like. Because if you think about it, the last, what, 7 or 8 years, they've been hooking up here and there, and they've had an hour or two here and there. It's not given them an actual basis on which to launch an actual relationship from.
100%. Yeah, you can see that. Um, and I like that this is where a lot of the writing really picks up. I think here is where some of the best writing in the book is. And that makes sense because if she was writing this chronologically, which she probably was, she is just getting steadily better as it goes on. She gets a better idea of where she wants to take these characters. I think that speaks to what you said earlier about Jacob Tierney doesn't really need to change much in these later parts. And I think that's why she's sort of like full flow at this point. She is putting them in the habitat that she's always sort of wanted to put them, and she's just letting it run free now about how these guys are going to be when they're together. And I imagine it was really fun to write these scenes where she's finally getting to be nice to them and to like let them have what they want rather than constantly making them miserable of each other. Um, so I do really like these sort of up and coming chapters. I do think it's some of the strongest writing in the series.
I agree. And now, Brie, I want to ask you, Ilya finally gets into Shane's home. He's been wanting this for so long. What do you think that means for Ilya?
See, we get more from the books, right? So on the TV show, you had no idea that Ilya had the same kind of inner dialogue going on that Shane did, fantasizing, wishing, thinking, is this possible? Could this really, like, because I don't know if do you think Ilya was like a playboy before he met Shane?
Yeah, 100%. He's actually sort of
And
known as a womanizer. Yeah.
because there's some moments here where I remember putting in the notes like he's really warring with himself. And I'm like, no, this is who you are now. Like, you know, it's
Mm.
Shane. Like in Twilight when Bella's like, it's him. It's always been him. And she's talking about Edward. I don't want to hear any of this Team Jacob, Team Edward nonsense. Come on now, we know.
Well, I like that you bring up the fact that Ilya is seen as a player or a womanizer, because I feel like this is a real almost indicator of them trying out monogamy, because in the scene where, in the part of the book rather, where they're talking about, it's been a while, it's been, I haven't been with anybody since you, for example, and Ilya says same. There's this real sense of they don't want to be sleeping with anybody else right now. They only want each other.
Mm.
Exactly. And so for me,
It's not a big deal, Hollander, that they hadn't been together for months at this point.
but it actually is a big deal given their
Hell
Yeah,
yeah, it
history.
is. Ilya is like too cool for school. That's his thing.
100%. I think that's what it is. It's the final shields, it's the final masks that he's wearing, to like convince Shane that he is sort of, oh yeah, I'm interested, but I'm not too interested. It is whatever it is. Even though his inner monologue is like, I need to have this guy. Like there is no one else at this point. And the fact that now he's sort of setting aside that life that he used to live, in a lot of ways, actually, this is like Ilya fully committing to Shane. Um, like this is kind of what they've both been building up to. Like Ilya is setting aside the casual flings, the womanizing, the sort of sleeping around. He is setting aside his sort of visage, his mask that he presents to people, and he is finally going to allow himself to open up to this guy. And I like that that's where it comes in with the let's just be honest with each other for these 2 weeks. Like that is a very important thing that
I
is
have
established.
I noted that. I was like, when Shane says that to him, I'm like, and the bargain is struck because it's 2 weeks and we're going to try to be honest with each other. And I think Ilya, he has a lot of scar tissue. So
Mm.
that's a tough
Yeah.
one for him.
I like the way you put that, because he does have a lot of scar tissue. He's been through some wars.
I see that in Ilya when you mentioned his penchant for humor. I think it
Mm.
adds a bit of levity, but I think it's like a buffer. I think
Yeah.
it's a good way for him to just kind of like lessen the intense, like when you start getting too close in that moment, and you just need to. But that's to his credit, because it's a way for him to stay and be present, and he doesn't run away. He's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's how
it.
he gets through that. That's
Mm,
his mechanism, his like
yeah.
perseverance. I don't know what you
It's
call it. Like
self-defense
a
mechanism.
yes,
Yeah.
bingo.
And a lot of people will talk about a self-defense mechanism like a negative thing, like a bad thing. It's like, oh, you're doing that because of this thing, but they actually serve a purpose. They can be
Yeah.
really useful for protecting you in certain situations. Now, the problem occurs whenever you cannot turn it off, and then that's when the self-defense mechanism comes in issue. So, for example, Ilya used humor to sort of protect himself from further harm from people, from emotional harm. And that's sort of what he needed in that moment, that distance, to be able to center himself and to be secured himself. But in that, he also refused to open up new connections, and he carried it on for so long after the events of his childhood that now he basically has nobody, especially in the book as well, because there is no Svetlana really in the book in the same capacity that she is in the show, where she is like an emotional anchor for Ilya in the show, whereas in the book, she is literally a casual fling that's
I
next into Russia. Yeah, 100%. I think it was a really wise decision.
And I think for me here we get this. There's a hesitation from Ilya because as soon as Shane says, "Let's be honest for these 2 weeks," Ilya says, "I can't because if I do, you'll think I'm pathetic, or worse, you'll say it back, and then what the fuck are we supposed to do?" So for me, there's this real hesitancy. Right, they're still in it and they still want to be honest, but there's still reservation about, is this going to work? What is it going to look like?
oh yeah.
Because Ilya says he was infatuated. And then, interestingly, Rachel writes, it was disgusting. So there's such a juxtaposition there of the language to compare these with.
Yeah, it's because he's just, up until this point, never been a romantic. And now he is seeing that in himself. Like, he wants to be a romantic. Like, he didn't realize that you could have love like that. And now that he's found it with this guy, he's going to open up. He is opening up from his insecurities and showing Shane. And I like what he says. It's like what happens if you do accept me? Then what the fuck do I do? Because they know that this is going to be messy one way or the other. It's whether or not that is enough of a sacrifice to warrant the good to get out of the relationship. Because if the good outbalances the bad, then they're going to be willing to try. And I think these 2 weeks are pretty much all it takes to convince them at that point.
Definitely. Now, Brie, I want to ask your opinion because in the book, Shane has an indoor hockey training facility at the cottage. This is never going to happen in the TV show. They
The
did not
plastic
have.
hockey rink. I should
Well,
have Googled that because I have no idea what the hell that is.
well, what do you think it means that Shane's character has a hockey rink at his actual holiday home?
That he's filthy stinking rich and he gets to play a game and get paid for it. He's essentially like that part of his child, that kid that you're always going to be on the inside, gets to just live out his dream. That the fact that
Mm,
he has that, I mean, mind you, I think they also did a really good job of portraying the house on the show, choosing whatever location they chose. Because when you read it, you're like, you just see glass, so much glass,
mm.
right? Windows and wood and the views of the lake. So I thought that they really did a good job because I was visualizing the television show when I was reading them inside the cabin.
Mm. I think with the rank in particular, I think it actually says a lot about Shane. That little thing. Like, this is his holiday home. This is where he switches off from his job. His job is hockey, whether he likes it or not. His inability to switch it off, like, that's almost an obsession. Yeah.
But I suppose there's no distinguishing from Shane the player from Shane the person in a way that we were talking about a couple of episodes. That person
Yeah,
is literally one.
yeah, it's always like a present thing in his life, in a sense. And you notice Ilya doesn't have an indoor ice rink at his house. Ilya knows when to switch off. He can create separation. I think a lot of that obsessiveness is something that will come back to bite Shane on the ass, and I'm saying that with a little bit of, you know, knowing how I've read ahead. But the obsessiveness of the sport is definitely there, and I think that the your work being at home at your holiday home is sort of like a good example of that.
Well, Ilya has the cars now as an adult, right? So
Yeah,
that's something
he
he acquired as an adult as he got old. He got away from Russia. He got like this whole other thing that he created for himself. Whereas Shane, it's like he never really had to give anything up. He just like improved upon it and made it better and got more, bigger, better toys.
yeah, I
So,
think with Shane, he cannot separate his enjoyment from the sport itself. Like he doesn't really have other hobbies, so he doesn't. Whereas Ilya does. Ilya has his cars. Ilya has all this stuff. Like he lives like a typical like athlete, rich athlete. Whereas Shane is just like hockey, hockey, hockey. I want to be the best. Hockey is the best, and that's interesting. I think.
Yeah, and we see this with the books that they're both reading. Like Shane is reading books about hockey, and we talked a little bit about it in the previous episode about how sort of Ilya questions like, "You're a bit obsessed," and Shane is like, "Well, aren't you?" And Ilya's like, "Not in the same way." There's this separation, I think, and that's such a likely, it's such a good way of articulating that. So I wanted to dissect the conversation that Shane and Ilya have about Scott Hunter. Because again, here, had you not read Game Changers, you, and especially that last episode of the, or the epilogue, I don't know which it is, where then Kip go to the gay club and then Ilya joins them later. And if you didn't have that backstory and you were reading this straight, you wouldn't understand, for me, how important that last chapter was in Game Changer, in Kip and Scott and their relationship, and definitely in terms of Scott's own advancement. But to me, that was the best chapter of the book in Game Changer.
Yeah, because it was showing the consequences of what Scott and Kip have done, and then you sort of have it reoccur again in Heated Rivalry. It lends more weight to it because you have the context of where it's coming from and the emotion behind it. So yeah, I think it's a good thing to bring back for this, because it also shows a potential future for Shane and Ilya, I think.
Yeah, because where this is situated in the book is very different from the TV show. You know, here we get this conversation a lot earlier. However, in the TV show, we get this mentioning, and it's a really brief mentioning when all of them are at the table and Yoon and David are there. And Ilya just happens to mention, oh, yeah, like I spoke to Scott after the NHL awards, so he sent him an email. I can't remember what it was. So, what's the significance of having Ilya visit the Game Changer world and visit Scott and Kip at that point in the club from Game Changer?
Yeah, whenever they first come out. Um, the fact that Ilya is brave enough to be seen there is, I think, a good indicator for his confidence in his sexuality compared to Shane. Shane would not come near that place with a 10-foot pole. He just wouldn't because he would be afraid of being in any way connected to queerness at all. Like, Shane would not be seen dead in a gay club or anything like that because the fear of getting caught is just so visceral in him. Whereas Ilya is so much more relaxed about it. He really just doesn't care what people think. And that's much to his benefit. But it also means that he gets that interaction with Scott and Kip. He gets to see them in their happiness, getting their happily ever after. And that is just more ammunition to push him forward with his own sort of secret relationship. So interesting they didn't put it in the show.
What's the significance of that? Why don't they put it in the show? Like, what are they trying to keep from the viewers? Is it going to come into a narrative later on, for example?
It could have just been they ran out of time, ran out of space. Like that, those last couple of episodes are packed, absolutely packed. And so maybe trying to get them together for a scene like that just didn't fit. Um, Even though it would say a lot about Ilya being able to show up to that and where his thoughts are with his sexuality. So maybe the showrunners intend to have that more of like Ilya's public persona or how he wants to be perceived publicly to be a bit different in the TV show, that he might have a bit more hesitance than he does in the books. So maybe that's something we'll find out in the next season.
Yeah, maybe. And you talked about sort of Ilya being brave, and I think that's so true because later on we see this whole conversation in another chapter about, Ilya telling Shane that, you are brave. And I think nobody gets to tell Ilya that he's brave because what he does here is hugely brave. And I wonder if there is a bit of longingness or yearning from Ilya's point where he's like, that's what I want. I want what Kip and Scott have. Oh, I want what Scott has, really, because he doesn't really know Kip.
Yeah. I do think that is the motivation behind him showing up there. Do you get that idea that he's like wanting to view the future that he could have himself and seeing it displayed in the public way and the affectionate way that Scott and Kip do? I imagine it was the kick up the ass that he needed to actually try to make something with Shane work.
I ditto all that. Excellent. A plus, Declan.
Declan is our resident English teacher. Now, in this chapter, we do get a bit of the racy scenes as well. What was that like for you to read, Brie, in terms of how this is paced in the book in this chapter specifically?
I think my brain just jumped to when Ilya flipped over Shane's parents' photo. Do you remember that in the book?
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was coming. It was going to be good. Like, and I fully support that. Like, you don't even want the dogs in the room. Like, dog, cat, bunny, whatever. Everybody's got to get out. I love when Rachel mixes the like sweet, tender, intimate moments with like the headboard banging. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good sign, though, that that's sort of where their relationship's going at this point. It's more than just, headboard banging. It's supposed to be
Yes.
tender, it's supposed to be intimate, it's supposed to be
Yes.
sweet.
But
And
you get the funny moments.
yeah, exactly. And I
Like,
think
what
that,
is this Magic Mike shit? I laughed so hard when I read that. That was great.
yeah,
I almost wish Rachel wrote, because Rachel writes comedy really well. And she writes these pop culture references and weaves it in. And everyone who's listened to us from the very beginning knows I like a good pop culture reference, especially in the last episode that we recorded. And she weaves these in really well. And I think first of all, it kind of dates the show because, like, depending on which Magic Mike you were thinking of course, 1, 2, or 3,
The first one.
it's exactly
Always the
so.
first one.
It dates the book in a way, but I don't think that's a bad thing because I think it almost grounds the book in a cultural phenomenon.
yeah, it's a moment in time. So it is. And that
I
little
think it brings
reference
us
works.
in.
Yeah, 100%. It also adds lightness to their interactions as well. Like, up until this point, everything's been quite serious with the sex. It's been like, this is going to be hot, this is going to be this, and this is going to be that. But they're having fun. And if you're, as a couple, sex is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a little silly and a bit stupid. And those sides are a lot more available to them now because they're becoming more comfortable around each other. And because of that, they're allowed to have these little interactions. And I just think it's a sweeter version of them that really works. I mean, it's still spicy and it's still hot, but it's not afraid to be tender as well and a bit fun and a bit silly.
I think you're right there because Rachel writes about, I think Ilya giving Shane like a hickey or something like that. And he
I
says
took
something.
umbrage with that. That was something that hickeys, you don't even know when you're getting one. Like, she's making it. I wrote in my notes, I was like, no Hoover action required. This is not a painful thing. This is something where you get up the next day and you're getting ready for school and you're like, oh, holy crap. And you got to whip out that concealer. Like, you didn't know. You had no idea you're covered in them.
Well, and that's
Oh,
such an interesting take. I think what I got from that was Ilya was marking him, and he could mark him because they were going to be uninterrupted for 2 weeks. So he says, mine, and then Shane says, yours. And then they say, all of this for 2 weeks is mine. So it's almost this branding on Shane that he doesn't have to hide what he's doing to him. He can leave his mark, and he can let the world see it, even though no one gets to see it.
I
Yeah,
love that. Did you see the Culpa movies on Prime, like Culpa Mia, Culpa Tuya, Culpa Nuestra? And she writes that like, and he gets it tattooed, Eres mio or something like that, like you're mine. That's what
yeah.
that made me think. I love that. There's so much stuff going on right now with like
Like,
these like
see,
romance things popping up on every network, and I'm like sucked in now. And you know, romance wasn't my thing. It was like fantasy, like witches and freaking warlocks and vampires and all that. And now I'm just like, oh man,
I
I
was
gotta
actually
watch
just
that.
about to bring up that exact thing in romance. So there are like obviously subgenres of romance, and one of them is like supernatural, it's fantasy, it's vampires, it's werewolves. Fighting and marking someone is a big sort of like claiming moment in those kind of books. It's like a marking, it's you belong to me, it's we are now fated, we are mates, we are this. So it's like a little callback to that trope, that sort of like claiming trope of like leaving a mark on someone. That's your mark, that's your person, that's your soulmate.
Damn it. And I
So
love that. Like,
the layers are there. Yeah, she's obviously a fan of reading romance herself. Otherwise, I suppose she wouldn't be such a good writer of it.
Can I,
I got
I,
excited when you mentioned this chapter, by the way, chapter 23. And
there's
it's
a,
because my filthy mind went in the gutter right away.
well,
And
can I keep us there? Because I'm not done talking about sex. So, on page 274, now, this, if you have children in the car or wherever you are, maybe skip the next 2, 3, 5, 17 minutes of this podcast because they don't need to hear this. So Rachel writes, his tongue slipped into the crease of Shane's ass as his big hands pulled his cheeks apart. Shane held his breath. He couldn't believe Ilya was actually going to. And then he says, oh God, Ilya. And then there's a bit of the chapter, and then he says, Ilya's tongue was inside him. Now, hang on a minute, because you're telling me, as a gay man, okay, they've been fucking for 7 or 8 years, and Ilya hasn't once rimmed Shane? How is that even possible?
I haven't answered this question.
Please.
Pacing. It's literally pacing. Like you need to save something for towards the end. Because if you give it all at once, then it's boring. So whenever you're reading romance, you will find that the characters never just have sex the first time. They never do everything the first time. So little moments, big moments of like different types of foreplay, things like that. They begin to become scattered throughout the book, and they build up and they build up and they build up. And because a lot of people like don't rim, like some people just don't want to do it. It's seen as like a very like personal thing. It's like a very intimate thing. It's something you do with someone you really trust. And so she's left for the end, just as a little like, see, they've not done everything yet. I've saved this
I just
exactly for you guys.
you guys are in boxes for me, right? So I just glanced at Sylvan's face because I was so focused on what you were saying, Declan. And Sylvan's just like, oh my.
Okay.
So for
Oh,
Sylvan, this is just a reminder that this is not real life. This
I
is
know it's
fiction. This is like
fiction.
when you watch a movie and the chick's running away and she's always got to fall, or somebody does something stupid and yells, and it's like, oh sure, just alert the killer where you are. Hold up a neon sign, you stupid bitch. Like, but you need this for the movie to continue. You need this for the story to keep going.
But, and I
Because
know it's been
Sylvan's like, oh hell no.
like, how have you not rimmed those bubble cheeks in 7 years? How has it never occurred to you? And how has Shane, also who's been with other men, how has neither of those other two men ever rimmed him? Like, come on.
Because
Partners.
it's not a memoir.
I think, I don't know, as a gay man, I read that and I actually had to stop and take a pause because I was like, wait, what do you mean he's never been rimmed? Like, hang on. Is Ilya that bad a top that he has never tried?
Did Rachel Reid not say that Ilya will be bad at sex?
Really?
She said,
Can always bring it back to this is how you write a story or this is how you film a show. This you need it to wait. You need there to be, what did you say in one of your previous, like way back when you said the longing or the yearning that you take
you
a
need
reader
longing,
on?
yearning to build it up. Yeah, otherwise, if you just continually like put sex in, it becomes boring.
Sylvan's like,
I
yeah,
get that, but
man,
no
yeah.
rimming in 7 years? Really?
Well, now they've earned it.
It's like the equivalent of like taking someone's virginity at the very end of a book. It's like, come on, like,
You're right.
no.
This is basically like a period drama at this point.
Even in Bridgerton, they get fingered halfway through episode 1. Captain's never watched Bridgerton.
Never watched Bridgerton.
Like, they do a lot of funky stuff in Bridgerton, and they're supposed to be like all chaste and stuff. This is set in the modern world, and they've never rimmed. Like, I just found, you know what? Of all the things Rachel Reid has done that hasn't been believable, the whole Kip and Scott thing, this to me is the most unrealistic, I feel. This is the hill I will die on.
Damn, damn. So this is Rimmedgate, apparently. Um, this is serious business for Sylvan. We didn't realize that he would get so heated about this. He might need to take a
I
few
love it.
minutes.
This is like
Um,
Sylvan Unleashed.
he's
Yes.
he's taking this quite personally.
I don't know why. I don't know why this has struck such a nerve for me, but it has. But then it gets better. It gets better because Rachel writes, unfortunately. So Shane was going to come. The realization hit him suddenly, and in panic, he jerked his hips off the bed to remove any friction against his aching cock. Unfortunately, the move also caused him to smash Ilya in the face with his ass. Has Rachel Reid never heard of pink eye?
I wasn't even thinking of that, dude. I was just like, I loved because I wrote, and we're back to last names because that never gets old for me. Where like, I'm like, Ilya gets bashed in the face by Shane's bum. And I was like, he's like, what the fuck, Hollander? I'm like, oh my God, this super intimate moment, like Declan just said, right? They're so close at this point. They're so like up in each other's grill. Like you can, and it's like back to surnames that
Yeah,
I was I needed a minute to keep reading because I was laughing so hard I couldn't hold the book anymore. That was fantastic. I mean, he's literally Rachel says he's rubbing his jaw.
it is that. It's the awkwardness. It's the silliness. It's the fun. They're not taking this too seriously. They're having a really good time, like, but they're not taking it too seriously. And I like that. I think that says more about how they've developed over time. It's less like dom daddy sort of OnlyFans porn video. It's like this is what happens to real couples. I can't tell you how many times my partner's elbowed me in the face or like near hit me or whatever. Like it just happens.
A little comment about just how much I love the portrayal of their confidence, like they're unabashedly confident in their own skin. And rightfully
Mm,
so, they do have quite nice physiques. But especially with Shane talking about his kind of inexperience compared to Ilya, how he meets this guy, arch rival, whatever, and he just like he lays himself out there, you know? Take off your clothes. Okay. He's so obedient. He's just like he strips, he folds it, he puts it down. There's no like I don't know, I like reading that where the person isn't so like inhibited. I like that
yeah,
about Shane.
100%. I think I mentioned this last time as well about how Shane is only able to be this comfortable around Ilya because he trusts him so much, and how Shane's like worldview centers around controlling as much of his life as possible. And these are the moments where he sort of lets go of control, and that's why he's so respondent to Ilya, because he gets something with Ilya that he doesn't really get with anybody else in his life. So that's seems to be what works for him.
Yeah, and that's such a lovely reflection there, Brie, because there is this comfort with the intimacy here now. And I think you really have to be comfortable with the person to be able to laugh whilst you're having sex or in the act. You know, it really does take that level of we're being a bit silly here, and that's okay, like Declan said.
Mm.
It was
So,
just funny, right? Because in the book, Shane's like enthusiastically like thanking him. He goes from thank you to sorry in like a matter of seconds.
because sweet baby Shane has never been rimmed before, that's why he's thankful. He's experienced sensation on a whole other level.
It gave me whiplash though with the like him saying thank you to oh my god, I'm so sorry. It's like the whole mood, everything just but they recover so smoothly because they have that friendship and that banter and all that. And I like the way it doesn't get strange or awkward after. It's just
Mm.
they keep on rolling. I love that.
We just break the tension, yeah.
And in this chapter, I was very much thinking about what the cottage symbolized. For both of you, what does the cottage symbolize for you as a reader?
Hmm. The cottage is a sort of symbol for Shane's life in general. Like it is him. It's hockey, it's peace, it's tranquility, it's orderly, it's clean, it's glass, you can imagine this place is immaculate, beautiful, still, peaceful, and you have your hockey rink right next to it. It's sort of everything that Shane values in his life, the peace, the order, the tranquility, and he's letting Ilya into that space, which is really quite meaningful. And Shane does say earlier in the book when he's doing his stupid TV whatever documentary thing that this is where he goes to like be at peace. This is where he goes to relax. Like this is where he spends the only time that he's not doing the one thing he loves, which is hockey. Like this is where he spends his off season, and he chooses to spend it in this place. And now he's invited Ilya to do that as well. That's really meaningful to open up your space like that and to do it for someone who is so private. Like up to this point, like Shane has not wanted Ilya anywhere near any of his spaces to the point where he literally bought an entire apartment block just to keep him separate from that part of his life. So the fact that now at this moment in time he's willing to bring Ilya in, that's I'm bringing you into my life. Like this is the real me. I'm letting you see the real me and what I love, what I like, and the things that bring me enjoyment. So that's what I think the cottage actually represents. It's Shane himself.
Yeah. What about for you, Brie? Does the cottage look like what you imagined it would look like?
Well, I based my visual from the show. So, yes, I think they scouted an excellent location. But in terms of like maybe metaphorically speaking, for me, especially like what going off of Declan, like the glass, the windows everywhere, to me, it was like a window into Shane's soul. So, Ilya comes along and Shane's just like, okay, come see me. This is who I am. And it's also a bit of foreshadowing, maybe, because it's like the happy home that they could create for themselves. And
Yeah.
Shane's parents are not too far away. Like we always know that they're pretty close by. And if you could merge that and Shane could have his whole snow globe right there.
Yeah. That's really sweet. I quite like that. Yeah.
There was even that moment when they got, was that when they got there and they were like, yeah, we skipped over that a little bit. Shane, when they first got to the cottage and he made that comment, whatever, and Shane was now a little disgruntled, Mr. Grumpy Pants, and he was like, well, maybe we'll just make something to eat. So now, like, and I'm in my head thinking like, oh my God, please no more tuna spit. Do not be making tuna. Like,
No, we get 8
so,
burgers instead.
No, yeah, which is much
and
better.
at the very end of chapter 23, like the last 2 lines, after all that, right? Like with this whole, the intimacy, the craziness, and we're back to freaking like last names again. They're so close. They're so like on the verge of saying the words. And it's like, what does he say?
I like you, Hollander. And then he says, I like you too, Rosenoff.
I like you too, Rosenoff.
But can I comment on that? So, yes, we go back to the last names, but because the emotional intimacy has increased tenfold, so they're not ready to say I love you. And both of them are feeling it, I feel, at this point. However, they can't say it. So the closest thing they can get is I like you. But then to take the edge off, Hollander, Rosenoff. That there's a little bit of holding back there. They can't quite get there yet.
Yeah, it is. It's just that little bit of distance.
That killed me at the end of chapter 23. The I like yous at the end. I'm like, seriously?
But it's also very sweet.
It is. We go through a little bit of a roller coaster in bed, and then we end off at this really, really sweet point in the chapter.
Well, that is all we have time for this week. Thank you so much, Bree, for joining us. It's been absolutely wonderful having you on. It's so nice to have someone who's been watching for so long come on, give thoughts and reactions to the way that you got to view the TV show and the book as well. It's a really nice perspective, so thank you so much.
So I just want to say thank you. This was amazing. I had so much fun. I can't believe you wanted me. I'm just like a regular listener. I told Silvan, I was like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a film director. Like, I know nothing about technology. You can't DM me on anything, but you have an email? Like, I'm just, I'm stuck in 1996 forever. So
No, it's nice for us to be able to get like an opportunity to speak with somebody as well that is just sort of enjoying the show from the perspective of a viewer and just a casual reader. Like it gives us a good idea as well of like how others view it, because we get so many different opinions, like obviously movie directors and psychologists and all these different people from all these different professions, but just seeing how the casual viewer is like absorbing it is really nice. It's a really nice perspective. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you. Brie. And I love how you guys too, also, just so you know, bring up the like the viewing audience and the readers, and how a lot of them were like, yeah. So that was one of the reasons I started listening to your podcast. It wasn't just for the content of the show, but the way you guys are so like open to hearing what all these people all over the world have to say, and you never poo-poo anybody. You're very open-minded, and you like welcome different perspectives, and it's like between people just appreciate like us coming together, and that's the best.
Thank you.
Variety is the spice of life, as they say. But that is all the time we have for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe and share wherever you are on whatever platform you're watching it. Also, if you're not already aware, we do have a Fable as well, which is a book club. It's the Long Game Pod book club, and there we are making our way through different romance books. At the moment, we have voted on our next book, which is Echoes of Us by Alex Cross, which is a really great volleyball college romance. So that's a fantastic read, and I'm really looking forward to reading that one with everyone. So if that's something you want to be a part of, make sure you join that. But we'll see you next time, and maybe we'll get through another chapter of this book.